Hello and welcome. 1 month into France's deployment in the Central African Republic, is it already time for a surge? Troops unable to deploy outside the capital, they're pinned down. Success mitigated in preventing further ethnic bloodshed between the northern, mostly Muslim Seleka militiamen who took over Bangui last April and the so-called anti-Balaka forces loyal to the ousted president. Both sides increasingly expressing resentment of the French army, which finds itself in the awkward position of playing policeman. The stated objective is a laudable one, to prevent a genocide. But the mission is rife with pitfalls. When Paris intervened in Mali at the start of last year, critics were quickly quietened by the rapid rout of Islamist rebels. The objective was clear, support nearly unanimous. In Centrafrique, France's friends seem more fickle. Take neighboring Chad, whose support was invaluable in Mali. President Idriss Déby, dead set against the deployment of UN peacekeepers from outside Africa. It has both troops deployed as part of African peacekeepers in Centrafrique, while other Chadians are taking an active part, it seems, in the Seleka militia. Finally, what's the long view for France, a country that's deployed 7,000 troops to former colonies in the past year? At the same time, as a recession is hitting hard, it's had to cut defense spending. Today, in the France 24 debate, we're taking a look at France's position going forward. With us to talk about it, she's a candidate for president in the Central African Republic. Reine Hassen is former Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister for the Central African Republic. Thanks for being with us.
Hello.
Thanks as well to Socialist Senator Richard Young. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Hello.
And you represent the French abroad in the Senate, in the upper chamber, as we say. Emmanuel Dupuy of the Institute for Prospective and Security Studies in Europe. Welcome back to you, sir.
Hello, François.
And welcome back to reporter Michael Kirtley, producer of the World Memory Film Project. Nice to see you. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter, our hashtag F24Debate. 2.2 million citizens in need of assistance, half of the capital's 1 million citizens who fled their homes. The United Nations publishing some dire figures on the Central African Republic Monday, with increasingly blurred lines between ethnicity and religion.
Several countries, including Cameroon, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, and Senegal, repatriated tens of thousands of their citizens, the vast majority of whom were Muslims. This is the first time in the history of the CAR that people, on account of their religion, have felt obliged to leave the country for fear for their lives.
Let's go to Bangui now and join France 24's James Andre. James, you heard there just now the statement there from the UN Undersecretary reporting on the Central African Republic. What have you witnessed on that score in Bangui? How is the situation today?
Well, the situation is very difficult. Basically, we went to the huge camp, which is near to the airport, which houses an estimated 100,000 people. And indeed, the conditions there are appalling. People are living in very small sheds or just have sticks and a piece of rag as a home. Others are actually sleeping outside under trees. We saw a distribution of aid by UN agencies, and while everything was going just fine at the beginning, basically there has been violence. The person there was telling us that basically they'd had to stop aid in the camp over the past few days because it was just too dangerous, and they were just resuming after probably a week or more of no aid in this huge sprawling camp. And he was telling us that basically all this was due to violence, and we witnessed some violence right there and then when at the end of the distributions some men with weapons, sticks or machetes started basically attacking people to try and get their aid. There was a big fight over rice bags and non-food items. So basically, situation is very tense, and we also spoke to a lot of people who say they've had no aid over the past months.
A lot of tension, as you describe, James Andre, and the French sort of in the middle of all of this. We're getting a lot of reports of resentment, growing resentment against the French. How does it seem to you going forward? What's the morale among the French forces that you've spoken to?
Well, the morale seems pretty much okay, but it's true that their situation is very difficult. Basically, we followed a joint patrol a couple of days ago between the French and the Chadians, and indeed, if the Chadians are welcome in the Muslim communities, it is not the case for the French, who basically were hissed as they drove by, were attacked verbally as they got off their trucks. People were saying, yes, you're not doing anything to help us. People say that basically when the French go through Kilometer 5, which is a Muslim area around here, people accuse the French of going by and then being attacked by the Balaka. They say that the French are only disarming the Muslims and not the Christians. On the other hand, the Christians tend to say that the French are at the root of all these problems, and also, of course, they accuse the French of not disarming the Muslims. So basically, we're in a situation where we have two communities fighting very harshly. We had gunfire today, again, close to the airport, and I mean quite heavy gunfire. And basically, the French are really caught in the middle of these two communities, and it's a very difficult situation. As for disarming people, that is increasingly difficult.
James Andre, many thanks, and we'll be showing that report that you filed a little bit later on during the show. Richard Jung, listening to our reporter there, of course, do you wonder a little bit, were the French a bit spoiled by Mali and the hero's welcome that they got when they took back the north?
No, I don't think so. These military operations are never an easy thing, and even in Mali, we can see some part of the population is not supporting the French intervention. I think the real point is the one that your reporter took, which is that this is not really a military operation. It was conceived as a military operation, disarming the Seleka and bringing peace, civil peace, and it is now a kind of civil war, and the French are between the two parties of the civil war. And those armies which are there, those soldiers, it is not really their job to do this. They are not policemen, they are military people. So we have a problem of redefining the operation, and maybe we will discuss later ways out of this.
Hindsight, of course, is 2020. Do you wish that France had waited a little bit longer and gotten some more help from other countries, from the UN?
It's always, people always say this, but when we intervene in Mali, the jihadist troops were very close to Bamako, where we had 9,000 French people. I think we operated here in the Central Republic of Africa because there was a risk of civil war and many exactions, and we've had the experience of Rwanda and Burundi, and we don't want to be again in the position of being accused of doing nothing when there were those terrible massacres.
Renaissance?
Months earlier, like 6 months or 7 or even 8 months earlier, we said for this problem in CAR, we said what we need now is 10,000 troops, on the country, because
1,600 French right now. Plus African peacekeepers.
1,600 French, and then African peacekeepers, but we needed more than that. And right now we see that we needed more than that. First of all, the international deciders did not move quick enough, so the situation became horrible and horrible every day. People were killed every day, mass killings. And we were just saying that to the international deciders, things are going on there. Do something very quickly. Otherwise, the people are going to be terminated in Central African Republic. So what we needed at the time, what we asked was at least at least 10,000 troops on the ground, because it's not the same geographical position as Mali. It's not the same thing. And we said this is going to be very difficult. So that's why we need so many people. But then, you know, I believe that international deciders did not trust us with that. And now 600,000 French and African troops is not enough. And then at the same time, we could have, in Central Africa, we could have 100,000 troops on the ground, but this is not going to resolve the problem, you know, because what we need at the same time is some political, you know, organization in Central African Republic, political decisions. And that's what we don't have now, and that's what we should do very, very quickly.
We have a reaction on Twitter, Yemi saying, we have so many problems with our African leaders in South Sudan and the CAR. The people don't want peace because they're manipulated by politicians, she says. The situation right now in CAR, you're saying that there hasn't been a blueprint for rebuilding of politics in Centrafrique. At this point, is that France's responsibility?
No, this is not France's responsibility. This is responsibility from all the Central African people, and especially the political ones who did not do that for, you know, decades and decades. And now we are in that situation. So now we have to do that. That's why, you know, I have called for all the democratic forces. I've been doing that for two weeks now. I told them, look, now we need to put ourselves together and pull out a democratic poll of people and pull out some political organization for Central African Republic right now. And I got my ideas. I mean, I have some solution in 4 points, and other people must have some solutions, but let's do that together and pull this out and say this is the solution.
Organize, civilian politicians should organize. Emmanuel Dupuy, are we at the point, it's only been 1 month, are we at the point now where we need a surge of French troops?
Of course we need a surge, but I'm quite sure we need not only a surge from the military, French military forces, but from the African, also from the African states. It's true that only near 2,000 troops, because the objective is to go to near 2,000 troops, as the French Minister of Defense said it a few days ago when he was in Bangui. And of course, we must have the MISCA growing and strengthening itself. But the problem is that, as it has been said by Marie-Reine Hassen and by Senator Young, if you bring 10,000 peacekeepers, then what is the objective? When you go into a mission, you have to define who is the enemy or the adversary, what is the end state, what is the agenda. None of these 3 points have been clearly assessed.
All right, let me interrupt you there. French defense minister, as you said, spent New Year's Eve with French forces in Africa. He insisted there is a game plan for Centrafrique to blaze a trail for that UN peacekeeping force, MISCA.
Our mission is clear because it is also about facilitating the deployment of the MISCA operation, putting it in place because this international community gave it that mission. This mission will allow us to engage in the political process of transition and reconciliation.
All right, so there's the defense minister saying there is a plan. The plan is the French go in with their 1,600 troops, they blaze a trail, and then the others arrive.
Yes, but at the same time, the others are departing. Have in mind that amongst the 4,700 troops, which are supposed to be consolidating MISCA, 850 are Chadians. They fought against each other. 24th of December, a Chadian troop, a Chadian patrol troop, sent a grenade against the Burundi contingent inside MISCA. So, at the same time, wishful thinking, saying after the 21-27 resolution, we must build up a strong and a Chapter 7 United Nations missions, taking in consideration that there is this build-up of the African going from white helmets to blue helmets. That's true. this is going on. Stephanie Powers, the American ambassador to the United States, to the Security Council, went in Bangui and she said 3 points: justice, demilitarization, and political reconstruction. But she also said that everyone must be implied in that objective. I will take maybe something we missed a bit. Before the crisis in Libreville, in April, there was supposed to be a clear dedication from the African states, the International Contact Group, the 5 neighboring countries, the 5 members of the Security Council, and the ECAS, Economical Community of Central Africa. They dedicated 21 billion of French CFA. Almost none of this money went into Central Africa. At the same time, IMF in July said it was going to apply 12 million euros in order to reassess the security, rebuild the army, army and security. What I'm saying is that it's a game which everyone has a responsibility. International community, so local players, and I think it is time for a Libreville 2 conference. I must say that the discussion is on the table. There may be another international conference bringing all the actors. And just to complete what said Marie-Reine, quite important that when you demilitarize, when you take out the arms, when you bring in the insurgents, may they be anti-Balaka, may they be former Seleka integrated into the Central African forces, then you have to have a political agenda. This political agenda is an ongoing path. Saint-Egidio community is gathering again in 2 weeks, gathering a certain number of actors.
In the meantime, we're in a situation, as we heard from our reporter at the beginning of the show, where people are fighting when there's distribution of food taking place at that big refugee camp near the airport. Michael Kirtley, what's needed in the immediate term to put the fire out?
I think that what's needed a little bit is to take a longer range view. I mean, the French and the other forces have been there for a little over a month now. That's not a long time in the grand scheme of things when you have a country that's falling apart around you. That's the number one thing. So a little patience might be in order right now. Secondly, I think what's needed is to understand the successes as well as the failures. When I talk to my friends in Bangui, many of them are saying that they feel a lot safer today than they felt a month ago. Many of them are saying that the French came in and prevented a bloodbath that would have taken place, that the French saved thousands of lives in going to Bangui. So if that's true, if we can accept that somehow the French had, the intervention had an effect of at least calming the possibility of an immediate civil war, then you have to step back and say, well, what is actually happening? Right now you have people at the airport who go there mainly, I mean, many of them go there mainly at night. They don't stay there all the time. Many of them come into the town to get supplies during the day. They go back to the. But what's happening right now is you've got a town, and we're talking about Bangui. We're not talking about the rest of the country. That isn't a city that's easy to identify in terms of control. I mean, it's a patchwork.
When we come back, we're going to pick up on that. We got to take a quick break. This is the France 24 debate.